Okay.
Okay, so oh my God, I'm so excited to be here. This conversation is about to be dope. I can feel it. I've been feeling it for so long. Let's get into it. I almost don't even know where to start, but let's go. Listen, welcome to Parenting is Kicking My Ass. Okay, parenting is kicking my ass.
Raise your hand,
Ah.
everybody.
Let's see, both hands. Welcome to this live. I'm asking you to please like and share this video. Even if it doesn't resonate, to you, I'm asking that you still share it in hopes that someone else can glean just a small amount of information from our conversation. Even if you don't have kids, but aspire to have kids, this is a great conversation. Even if you don't want kids, it'd be good for you because you're going to be around other people who have kids. And if you have kids, you got to be on this live. This is for all of the parents. So I am Erika Genice. Of course, I'm your host. I have dope conversations with dope people. And joining me today, we have Jeannie Barnes, better known to this platform as what they call you?
JB.
JB. This is her name on this platform. Everyone knows her as this. I've had messages where when JB coming back? Like they connected with you, JB. We've had, this is probably maybe our third conversation, if not third, fourth for sure.
Yeah. I think you're right.
We've had some really good conversations. She is a licensed professional counselor. She's the co-owner of North Frisco Counseling Associates, right? Here in Frisco, Texas. She and her partner and all the other licensed therapists that's there, they can do in-person, right? Counseling sessions as well as virtual. So if you're looking for some counseling needs, you can reach out to her and we'll give you the information later on. She is also someone who has picked me off the floor a number of times. I don't even want to get into the number of times. But yes, she is someone who I love, I admire, and you just give the best sound, authentic, raw, real advice when it comes to anything. So thank you for joining me. And let's not forget about our dope audience members. If you're on this live, please tell me, one, where you're tuning in from. We want to know your city. We want to know your state. If you have kids, and if you do, what are their ages? If you don't have kids, let me know if you aspire to have kids one day. And if you don't, just say, the hell with these kids. You can put that in there too. You don't want them, that's cool too. Let us know your status, okay? We respect it all. And also, dope audience members, if you can just type in there, what is a few of your biggest parenting challenges right now? Just type it in. You never know who can all be, having some of the similar issues. So type it in there. Let's get into it. We can start the game, JB.
All right.
I don't know. I don't see anybody in this chat. Are they here, JB? You see people?
I don't know. I don't see it.
I don't see the people. I see that you joined.
Hey, I hope they didn't get freaked out.
What's going on? I'm about to come out. And I'm gonna go back in. Give me 1 second, because they comes in. You see anybody?
No, I don't. I was wondering that. I didn't know if I didn't see it on. It was just a me thing, or
I don't know. Either they're not talking to us. Let me see. It's
worried about. They said, "Oh, I'm gonna have to watch the recorded version. I don't know if I can handle this live."
Let's see. Hold on. Oh boy, hello. Okay, we got one. That's it. I'm good. We got one. What's up, Marv? Marv said he's on there. And hello. Listen, JB, I had to go back out. I'm tripping. They normally pull up on us. So thank you, Marv.
Yeah. Hello.
Let's get to the game, JB. We're gonna jump right into the game.
I'm ready.
Okay, so you know how the game goes. The dope audience members knows how it goes. You either have a card that says, girl, no ma'am. So that means you do not agree with the statement. And you had all the extra L's and the R's and all that. I just don't agree with it. If you agree, then it's yes with all of them, with all of the yeses, all the A's and the S's. So let's go. Let's jump into this.
Okay.
It is not only imperative, but mandatory for you to have a life aside from your children.
Like
Parents,
if I should have made 2 of these, because yes,
Is
all
it-
day.
have to have a life aside from your kids.
Yes. First of all, your kids need to see what it is to be a person, just to be a person. You're modeling so much more for them than just you being their parent. And that fills up your cup, and it keeps you from being so codependent with your children for your happiness. If you give up your life for your kids, you are going to expect a whole lot more from them than what they're going to be able to give you. And there's going to be a whole bunch of confusion going on about unmet expectations and all of these things. So there's that piece of it. And then what happens when your children grow up? Then what? Right? Like there was a you that existed before kids. There should be a you that exists during kids, because there will be a you that will exist after kids.
Yeah.
So you need to keep that intact. It may change and it may be different. It may look different than what it did before kids came along, but yes, you should have a life where you get some needs met outside of your children.
Oh, I'm sure we could we could
The
spend.
mom guilt is so, like, you want to talk about a pandemic, mom guilt. We can talk about that sometime.
Yeah. Let's get on, because we could really sit right there and just dissect that all day long. Parenting is about raising happy kids. You didn't even think about it. It's boom. Girl, no ma'am.
No.
Audience, what do you think? Let us know, y'all. Make sure y'all chiming in too. You know this game is interaction. I don't know if y'all playing with me on this Sunday. I need y'all to chime in. What's y'all thoughts? And we can agree to disagree, right?
Absolutely.
However you guys feel. So parenting is not about raising happy kids. Is that what you're saying right now?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
What I'm saying. Happy is a fluid state. No one is happy all the time. I want to raise kids that are content and that have peace. And I want to raise kids that have distress tolerance, that know what to do when they're not happy. But no, if I'm parenting out of an objective or a goal that my kids should be happy, then I'm actually taking on the responsibility of my children's happiness. And that is not my job.
It's impossible.
And like I said, that's a fluid state anyway. So that really gets dicey when we say that I'm just raising, I just want to raise happy kids. Like, no, we want to raise healthy, independent, and I say strong, but I'll use that word loosely in the way of that they have distress tolerance, right? So it isn't really about happy.
Yeah, good. Hey, Jennifer. Yes, tonight is about parenting. And for anyone that is just joining us, please like. I'm also asking, I'm going to ask a couple times throughout this live. No, I'm not over here begging for likes, but what I am begging for is that you share this content for other people to gain this sort of knowledge. Parenting is hard, y'all.
Yeah, it is.
Please share this video. If it doesn't help you, I promise you it would help another mom. It would help another dad. I promise you. So yes, tonight is about parenting if you're just now tuning in.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is, spanking teaches kids discipline.
Oh, that I don't know if I can hold up either card to that, because it really depends on the motive with which you do it, right? Spanking, if you do that out of anger, then you are instilling anger in the child, and there's no learning, right, that happens out of that. If it's also about strictly just punishment, there's no learning that occurs with that either. So there has to be the motive and the intent with which we're doing that. What do we really want to accomplish with this? What is our kid going to learn from this? I've always kind of used the rubric or the ruler about that. When my kids were much younger, it was if they deliberately disobeyed, right? If they knowingly, willingly did something that I specifically said do not do, then yes, there would be, a hand slap or spanking when my kids were much younger.
Yeah.
Because I'm also looking at developmentally where they are, right? So they don't want that again, they won't do it. Now, as they get a little bit older and they can understand certain concepts, I didn't do that anymore because there wasn't any learning past that, right?
Yeah.
So it should be about learning.
Okay. Dope audience members, what do you think spanking teaches kids discipline? Someone's coming through this door. It's my child. Ryan, I'm on a live, baby. Go upstairs with your aunts. You see what I'm saying? I'm just parenting. I'm live and in charge.
Life. That's right. That's right.
Oh, let's get it. No matter how great you parent, your kids will ultimately experience trauma.
Yeah, they will. Whether it's with you or anyone, right? They will. I mean, they're going to have adversity that's going to impact them in some way, whether it's from you or a sibling or another parent or someone in the family or someone at school.
Yeah. Last one. If your kids love it, okay. So if your kids love it, you for damn sure better love it too. We can insert whatever blank we want to.
No.
Okay.
You don't know. Your kids can love it. You don't have to love it, right? There are going to be so many things that your kids love that you're like, I literally don't like this, but you're going to go along, right? Depending on what it is.
Yeah.
You're going to support your kids because you don't have to love something like they do in order to support them and be there for them. So no, you don't. That's a lot of pressure. That's where mom guilt comes from.
I know. And I told you, this is where the game comes in, is that when I ask these questions, we could do so many different spinoffs and it take away our whole time. But I want to at least illustrate this, this moment that I had when I was talking to you about my mom guilt with Disney. Took my daughter to Disney for a week. My family went. And I really wanted to love the parks. We went to the parks twice out of the 7 days, right? And I hated every moment of the park. It was a lot of people. We went in, I think it was July. It was hot. We were there all day. We were standing in lines for hours. And she was having the time of her life. And I was like, this shit is weak.
Yeah.
I don't like it. This is not even like fun for me where I need to be having the best time of my life, right? Because I know how to separate that. I just didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
And she never felt that. But when we came back, I did a session. I was like, I just feel so bad because I feel like I should have liked this. I should have liked this moment that she had. And you were very clear. You do not have to like things that your kids like. If they're in band and you don't like music, say, I know people who don't like me. I know it sounds weird, but it's not. You don't have to like certain things. And so if your kid loves band and you still show up, like, you don't have to like it. So can you just tell us about like showing up for your kids and being present, even in the instance of I don't like it. And not only do I not like it, I don't want to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's inevitable, right? That your kids are going to be into something of some kind, even if it's going to an amusement park or some extracurricular that you don't love, but you can show up for them, right? You can show up to support them. You can borrow some of their joy, right? Meaning I just enjoy watching my kid enjoy this. As far as the activity or the thing, I don't love that. but I do love watching my kid enjoy themselves, right?
Yeah.
So I can borrow some of their joy a little bit. But and you know what? As your kids get older, they're not going to look back and go, I'm so upset with you that you didn't like what I liked. What
Yeah.
they're going to remember is that you were there. Even if they know, like, I know my parent didn't like doing this, but they were there. They were in the bleachers. They
Yep.
were showing up.
Holding
They
up
did
signs. Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's going to be meaningful to them as they grow up and as they become parents even, right? And what you've also done is you've passed on to a generation, you've taught them like that they don't have to love the thing and to still show up for it, right? So they'll be able, they have learned that. Because
Yeah.
at some point they'll know, right? The older they get, it's not, kids are actually a lot smarter than we give them credit for. They're like a little barometer, right? They know,
Yeah.
even if they don't verbalize it to you. So they'll look back and go, I know my parent didn't love this, but they were there, and they'll know how to do that for their own kids. So
Yeah.
it doesn't just work for the present, it will work for the future too. But certainly now, granted, don't go and complain and bitch and moan
Yeah.
and do all of those things. Like if you cannot show up without that, then maybe don't that
Yeah.
one time, whatever. But like I said, try to borrow some of the energy from your kids a little bit of just, even though I don't like this, I like seeing my kids happy. So no, you don't have to like it. And honestly, if you give yourself permission to not like something, it kind of makes it easier to do it, because it's harder when we try to force ourselves to do something and force ourselves to like it,
Yeah.
even when you don't. So
Yeah.
can go a long way. Just giving yourself permission, like, no, I do not like this, but I'm here for my kid.
Yeah. I like the way that I can show up even in spaces where I don't want to be. That's huge. That's huge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Our kids, JB, are ultimately right. Their own sovereign beings. They're here for their own reasons. We don't get to choose what that looks like, right? And
Right.
because of that, I feel like I've struggled with trying to figure out, what is my role as a parent, right? I can't make you a mini Erica, right? Because that's not healthy. And they talk about all the time where you try to instill like safety, but you really can't like save our kids from certain things. We can't. They're gone throughout the day. We've seen a number of things that happen to kids when their parents aren't around. So we can't protect them all the time, or a lot of the times, let's just say that. So in that instance, what is our role as a parent to you?
Well, number one, that when I understand that my role is to parent the kid that I have, not the kid that I want, right? So when I understand the kid that I have,
Yeah.
then I'm going to better understand what my role is in helping them develop. I mean, there are some very universal tools that we're all going to use as parents, no matter what your kid, their personality or any of those things.
Yeah.
They're the universal tools that we're going to use, like instilling distress tolerance and boundaries, mental health and love, self-worth, blah, 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 all of those things, right?
Yeah.
But as far as helping my kid, going beyond that and helping my kid, me figuring out, learning who they are and then helping them to understand who they are, right? That's going to better show me what is my role specifically to this child.
Yeah.
That what do I need to do? Because some kids need way more hands-on than other kids, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Some kids they just need different things at different times. So it's I mean, it's not a cookie cutter, it's not a just add water thing, and you're done.
Yeah.
Right? It's really your job as a parent to pay attention to who that little kid is in front of you, not who you want them to be, not what you're afraid of them being, any of those things. Like really looking at who is this kid, which really requires, and I know we'll get here to this point, but that requires us, right? We have to deal with us so that we're away, and that I'm not looking at my child through the lens of me, right? That I'm really seeing them for who they are, not through my own childhood, not through my fears or any of those things. So our role, one of the many, right, aside instilling again all of those universal tools, My role is to help, is to find out who is this kid and what am I supposed to do to help them grow into the person that they are.
Yeah. That's so good. You and I talk about all the time of the mini you, right? When
Yeah.
people look at my daughter, they're like, oh my gosh, she has your sass, she has this, she has that, she's just a darker version of you, and that, right? I'm like, I've recently learned she's actually not like me at all the way that people think. She's very much introverted, but when you see her small clips, right? You think that she's very extroverted. She's just a small Erika Genice, and she very much is not. And she gets to be her. You get to show up however that looks like for you. So we don't get to coin, I think about when people have, and I don't think there's anything wrong with doing like the juniors and the senior, right? The guys, right? And you think about the legacy of that, of the shoes you have to fill depending on if you want to or not. But now that I'm the third of whatever, then I have to show up as like my dad or my granddad. And is that really how it should be, right?
Right. No, I mean, is that how you would want it to be?
No, I would not want an Erika Janice Jr. Absolutely not. No, 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 no. No, you are nah, not at all. I wouldn't. Let's talk about trying to get our own agendas met as a parent. According to best-selling author of Conscious Parenting, Dr. Shafari, I think I sent you a couple things with her. She is my all-time best parenting guru. I love her. I study her work. What she says is this: what stands in our way, what stands in the way of our children is not love itself. So she's not confused that we love our kids. So it's not love itself.
Absolutely.
It's our conditioning and our need to get our own agenda met. Do you agree with that?
I certainly do. Yes.
What's the agenda that we're on? What is this agenda?
I think it depends, right? It depends on where you're coming from, what's happened, all of those things. It depends on, how healed you are from your own stuff.
Yeah.
I agree with her in the way, about that love isn't the issue. And I will frequently say, when I'm working with families and parents, I always say that in parenting, this statement, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, is never more true than in parenting. The intention is always good. It is good, but that doesn't mean that it's actually for their good. Even though you mean it for good, it doesn't mean that it is for their good, right? So a lot of times, going back to your question about the agenda, right? What's that agenda that we're trying to get met? Sometimes, Erika, the agenda is I'm trying to heal my own childhood. I'm trying to overcorrect my own childhood. I'm trying to compensate for my childhood, right? I would say that is a very common issue, is parents giving their children what they didn't get. Many times in the process of giving our kids what we didn't get, sometimes we're not giving them the things that we did get, right?
That's good.
Because we get so focused on that. And so I would say that is a very common agenda, is overcorrecting for our childhood, trying to heal, or and when we do that, again, it's it now becomes about us. It's not about them.
Yeah.
And that bleeds over into that whole thing that I was saying earlier about how do you actually see your kid for who they are when you're trying to compensate for your childhood?
Yeah.
You're trying to give them things that maybe they don't need.
Yeah.
Or want.
Yeah. I think it's the duality though, right? Of trying to parent and be the best parent that you can be to your child and trying to meet their needs. But in addition to, right, having so many of your childhood needs and wants, depending on who it is or how they feel about it, not being met. So not only am I trying to raise my daughter Ryan, I'm still trying to parent the little Erika in me. And so the duality of it just comes together and you're like, oh my God, I don't, like I was telling you earlier about, she went to the park today. Her auntie took her to the park. And it's something that I've been consciously working on is, when I grew up, it was like, you can't go outside with your play shoes on unless you have your play shoes, right?
Yep.
You need to go get them raggedy ass shoes. And that's the shit you kick in the dirt. That's what you play in. You don't play in Jordans. You don't play in this. And I have consciously made an effort that whatever shoes you choose to pick out is the shoes you get to play in.
Yeah.
So today she came and she said her auntie was taking her outside and she had her Crocs or her Jordans. And her even asking that led me to think that I've already instilled this mindset in her. And she was like, which shoes should I play with, right? And I'm sure she was thinking I was going to say, do your Crocs. And I said, which ones do you want to wear? She said, I want to go outside and play in my Jordans. I said, well, have at it. Jump in every puddle, kick every dirt, whatever you want to do. And it was like a really huge moment for me that this material things have to go. I did not buy these shoes to be weekend shoes. You go, you have fun, you enjoy, you do whatever, all the things that you need to do as a child. That's not how I was raised, though. We had outside shoes,
play clothes,
right? But I don't like what that's teaching. So that's just for me. It's something I'm working on. You people do whatever y'all want. But I think it just was a huge moment for me that I allow you to choose how you feel to show up comfortable. And it's not about me. It's not about my agenda of you having all the shoes and the Jordans and all those are cool because I like shoes too, right? Like I always have. And so making sure that she can like shoes, but the agenda shouldn't be at her expense. If you want to wear them. If you don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and you know what? There's a teaching moment in that, right? Like, I think every parent out there is like, has come to that crossroads.
Yeah.
You bought your kids some nice shoes or outfit or whatever, and you're like, oh, I don't really want you to play in that. So that is a moment, right, where we can, depending on your kids and their age, that you can actually ask them, hey, what do you want to play in? If they say, I want to wear my nice stuff, right, then you can say, okay. But that would be an opportunity at times to say, I know you really like this. And, remember, that you want to take care of it, or, you can kind of coach them through that a little bit. You don't have to create anxiety around it.
Yeah.
And not every situation would even warrant that. I think what you just described, it wouldn't warrant that, but there are times that you can even coach them through making decisions, right? That when they're choosing, whether it's clothes or it's something else, when they're choosing something, that you can even use that opportunity to say, okay, I see why you chose that. Have you thought about these things? Do you still want to choose that? If you think about these things, like there's always that moment, right? To teach them about making choices and doing those things. And if they say, yes, I'm totally fine with the risk of ruining my best shoes. Okay, that's totally fine.
Choices.
Move on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think this is a great transition to the question of how can we not allow our own childhood experiences to affect our kids?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you can't allow or not allow something you're not aware of. So if you're going to be a parent, you should be doing some kind of work on yourself.
Ooh, talk to him, JB.
So being aware of your own stuff is that has to come first, right? Of being self-aware, not self-focused, but self-aware, because those are different things.
Yeah.
So when I'm self-aware, I can ask the right questions and get the right answers that are going to lead me to make the best decision in my parenting. And so it's about self-awareness, really. How, if you aren't aware of your own childhood and the ways that affects you or possibly affects your parenting, then that's where you have to start.
Yeah.
Is that happening? Yeah.
And you don't really know until you start having moments like, it's just a shoe analogy, but think about how big that was. Right? And we have all of these small analogies of childhood that just creeps up. I told you, and I'm going to tell everyone on this platform that I was held back in kindergarten. And it was, my daughter just started kindergarten this year. And it's been my biggest anxiety. I just did not know why. I'm like, it's kindergarten. Relax. but it was my own trauma behind what happened to me and my, my parents and everything that was going on around that time, that I was very hypersensitive, probably way too invested in her first couple months in school.
Yeah.
And of course, with you and then her teacher being like, you gotta chill. She's not you. She's doing great. She's not growing up in the same household. Experiences is different. Everything's just different. Just relax. Like, my kindergarten does not have to be hers. I think we can translate that in everything. My relationship doesn't have to be hers. All of these things that we think that we bleed onto our children, they're like, she's doing well. I don't understand. We held back. What are you talking about? She's doing great. And I'm like, oh, okay, you sure? You sure she can't get held back? And if she can, what's the checklist for that? And I'm like, that she meets. What are you talking about? And so I've had some really amazing conversations with her teacher, and she was just, and I just, I told her what some of my fears were, and she just loved on me and was like, I promise you, she's different.
Yeah.
She's not you. And not even that she's not you. You're different people, different experiences. Your child is doing well. And just hearing that.
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because if you're in that process, if somebody's in that process of still really learning to understand themselves and become self-aware of those things, right? That's kind of a good way to do that, is to start noticing, do I allow my children, or I don't allow my children to do certain things, or be, go certain places, whatever, because of my fear.
That's good.
And is that fear rational?
Yeah.
And should I take a look at that and say, I'm not allowing these things, or maybe I'm white knuckling my kid in these ways because of my fear. That's a great sign. That's a red flag of, oh, maybe I need to step back and I need to look at where that fear is coming from. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to see that it's going to come from probably somewhere in your own childhood where something happened, and you're so afraid of that happening to your child that now you're overcorrecting. That's leads back to that overcorrection.
Yeah.
And that's confusing to your kid, because your kid doesn't understand why you're doing that.
Yeah.
You don't know. So then they are overcorrecting and they're not responding in the ways they need to. And now we're all upset about that at them for them not. And you see how it's just a snowball that rolls downhill. So check your fear, right? That when fear is involved in the decision making of your children, you should check that. You should step back and say, what is this? Is this rational or reasonable? I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Like, there are some rational fears, right? You're not going to let your 10-year-old go out alone, right? Somewhere, whatever. That's totally different.
Yeah.
But as you were just describing, or, other kinds of things that, really, if you really look at it, and I would encourage people to say it out loud. The thing that you're afraid of, you should say that out loud, because things always sound better in here than they do out.
Yeah.
We all had that situation where we blurted something out and we thought, oh crap, that sounded so much better in my head than when I just said it.
Absolutely.
So I always encourage people that when you're trying to even figure out, are my fears justified with my kid or whatever, say it out loud. Get somewhere that you can actually say out loud what it is you're actually afraid of. And does that sound different? Does it sound better? Does it sound worse? What does it sound like when you actually hear it out loud?
Yeah.
If it sounds off and you think that sounds kind of irrational, then you can step back and say, I need to figure out where this comes from. And 9 times out of 10, you'll know.
Yeah. Because it's never really about them. It's kind of about you.
Definitely.
Your unprocessed childhood stuff. It's not 9 times out of 10, it's not them at all. So let's talk about some common mistakes in your practice. I know that you see a lot of kids, you see a lot of parents. What are some, and maybe mistake is not the word, that's the only one I can come up with.
I would say mistake is a good word. Yeah.
What are some common mistakes that you see parents making?
I would say 2 things that I see a lot of. One, I see a lot of fear-based parenting.
Yep.
Fear and guilt-based parenting, right? I'm parenting my child out of guilt and shame, or I'm parenting my child out of fear, or all of the above. So I see a lot of that. which oftentimes I think leads to extreme parenting, right? Where I'm either over the top controlling and I'm way too authoritative, and I'm not giving my child any space, any room of theirs for themselves whatsoever, or I'm like way over here
Yeah.
and I don't have any boundaries. My child, doesn't have any boundaries. There's no expectations. So I think those are the most common things that I see, where they're either over here or over here. It's rare that I really see a kid where there's like really balanced parenting. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It's just not as common. So I see that. And then obviously, again, I think that's probably a result of usually fear and shame and guilt-based parenting.
Yeah. So it makes me think, do you feel like every parent, I would say this, Dr. Shafari was like, she believes before you have kids that everyone should be taking some sort of psychology course
Yes.
on brain development, kid development. I think at different stages,
Yeah.
we try to overcorrect and overparent. It's like their brain isn't developed enough. So it makes me think, like, should most parents at least take a couple counseling sessions to maybe not even talking about their parenting, but maybe how they were parented and maybe things that they can do differently?
Yeah. No, I absolutely. I think being able to, kind of lay out your own childhood a little bit
Yeah.
and look at that to see where are the pitfalls, right, for you in parenting. And a lot of times I would say that in parenting, I mean, parenting your own child will definitely trigger your own childhood. If you're a parent, you've probably had a moment in your own parenting where it took you right back to your own self at
Yes.
that age or around that age or something, similar to that. And you went right back to that old place. And so that, parenting is very triggering for us. So absolutely being able to go in and talk to somebody to say, this is what this looks like for me. Where can I, close the gaps for myself so that I'm not doing that over here? I'm not using my child to correct my own childhood.
Yeah.
And my inner child is not parenting my child.
Yes. That's so
Because
good.
I think that happens a lot too.
Yeah. How do you feel like we can make our children less entitled?
I think it's about what we should entitle our children to.
Okay.
I think, if we look at what entitlement means,
Okay.
it means to give your child a title or a right or to claim something, right?
Yep.
So a lot of times we are teaching our children that it's their right to claim, certain things, materialistic, whatever, right? And even certain privileges that are not rights. But we should be entitling our children to strong mental health.
No.
Entitle your child to self-love in
Yes.
healthy ways. Entitle your child to boundaries, setting and adhering to boundaries. Entitle your child to self-worth. Entitle your child to listening to themselves and trusting themselves, learning how to do that. Entitle those things because those things aren't perishable. We
Yeah.
entitle our kids to perishable things, and then we wonder why they have nothing left. There's nothing by the time they reach teenage years or young adulthood. There's nothing left. There's nothing to stand on. So it's really about what am I entitling my child to?
So
I don't
good.
need to entitle them to money and things and privilege, right? I need to have them lay claim to their mental health, their mental, emotional, spiritual, physical well-being. That's what they're entitled to.
That's good. Oh, that's a whole moment.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to be dropping that in the chat. This is what entitlement should look like.
Yes.
We're getting it wrong.
We are.
Entitlement is they deserve every Disney trip, every passport stamp, every Jordans with the hoodie to match, they're entitled to the best schooling and the best this and the best that, and you give them all of that,
Mhm.
they still grow up to be empty.
Yep,
We missed the mark.
we did. We
Yeah,
did.
we're
We
missing the mark.
entitled them to the wrong things. We taught them to lay claim to things that are perishable, that will not sustain them in the long run.
That's good.
So entitle your children to sustainable things. Your mental health is sustainable.
Oh, that's heavy. That's it. How do we tell our kids, and this is something I struggle with, that I made a mistake, I'm flawed, I'm a human, I went too far? How do we teach them that without still feeling like we're creating shame or fear? Because I do think there's a level of humility that we need to have with our kids.
Oh, yeah.
Level of apologetics that we should have with our kids, that I think sometimes as parents we feel like, I'm the mom, I'm the dad, I said what I said.
Mhm.
In reality, it is that probably may not have been the best move or the best thing to say.
Mhm.
So what are those teachable moments for our children where they can see that mommy messed up, daddy messed up, but still in love, and being able to apologize in care and love, really,
Mhm.
and compassion.
So it's always, the most powerful way to teach that is through action and behavior,
Yeah.
right? So doing it. When you mess up, own it and say, oops, I own that. That's on me. That one's on me,
Yeah.
and I'm, you know what? I get it. I'm going to correct it. That one's me, right? So we not only say it, but we actually do it.
Yeah.
And I do find when going back for a second, you asked what was a common parenting mistake.
Yeah.
And I'll add that one to the list, is that we ask things of our children that we won't even do, right? We're asking them, take ownership, take responsibility, do this, do that. And
Yeah.
we won't even do that, right? Show respect, but we forget that we need to also, we teach them to do that by showing that, by doing those things with them too. And by the way, that also instills self-worth.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're afraid to do that because we're afraid that we're gonna, spoil our kids or entitle them in some
Yeah.
way. But it's
Yeah.
all about the way that it's done, right? If I show my child respect, right, then I have, when I expect that reciprocity from them, I need it back, I'm
Yeah.
more likely to get it because I've displayed it, I've extended it, I've modeled it, I've done all of those things. So if we want to teach our kids how to handle or how to start owning their mistakes, we do it. We show them by doing it.
Yeah.
We just preach and talk. We just talk at our kids and tell them what to do. But I would say one of the most common complaints that I hear from teens and all adolescents is that they will say, my parents never take responsibility for them.
That's
They
deep.
never own when they're wrong. They always just talk about when I'm wrong, but they never talk about when they're wrong.
Yeah.
And that's powerful to
That
a
is
child.
huge. Yeah. God.
Yeah. But we're, I think, again, we're afraid that by doing that, that we're somehow going to lose our authority with our child. But the reality is it will actually give you, it will make that authority even stronger, right? Because they're seeing that you're modeling and doing the things that you're asking them to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that just builds safety and trust on top of that.
Yeah. And it's creating a space that emotions are okay, right? Like I've had a million different conversations with Ryan over, which is a million. She's about to be 6, but I've made a number of mistakes.
Yeah.
And she's so forgiving.
Oh, yeah.
She's
Yeah.
like, okay. I call it mommy had a moment, mommy moments, right?
Yeah.
Either I cried or I yelled too loud or I wasn't as patient. A lot of it is patience.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was mommy's fault. That was on me.
Yeah.
And she's always like, oh, that's okay. I'm like, okay, I feel better. Okay. But allowing her to know that, oh, that was on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I say then there's other moments where I said what I said.
Yeah. Right, right.
And you need to understand that this moment was something different. This isn't a mommy made a mistake. I told you 19 times, and now I
Yeah,
have to be a little bit more authoritative.
right.
I do think it's very important to apologize to your kids. And I wouldn't say often, but we mess up a lot as parents. We have no idea what we're doing. No,
Right.
we don't have a manual. Even now doing the conscious parenting, I didn't know half of these things. And so I'm like, what the hell have I been doing? Like, like I wasn't even emotionally stable. I hadn't even dealt with my childhood, but yet we want to have children. And so I think it's really about doing that work, doing that
Mm,
work.
absolutely. And
Uh,
creating safety. I
it-
want to just, gosh, I cannot stress that enough. All relationships, no matter what the dynamic is, romantic or parent-child or whatever, all relationships require safety. And so when I do my part, when I own my mistakes, when I say I'm sorry, I am creating safety for my child. I'm teaching them that it's safe to admit when you're wrong, so that they'll be more willing to do it. Most people won't own it because they don't feel safe to do it. And
yeah.
we model it. We're teaching safety, that there's emotional safety, but we're teaching them that there is safety in being
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. Oh, there's safety in being wrong. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because we oftentimes, we being wrong is in a lot of parent-child relationships, there is a lot of this lack of safety in being wrong. And
Yeah.
when there's a lack of safety in being wrong, your kid's not going to own it ever,
Yeah.
because they're trying to maintain safety.
Mm. How can we create a space for our children to be more um, emotional, be able to emotionally express themselves? When I'm
Mhm.
sad, when I'm angry, when
Mm,
I'm mad, I don't feel safe. Like you said, you'll counsel a lot of kids that just don't feel that protection.
mhm.
How can we start creating this space for our kids to say, "Mommy, I'm sad today.
Okay.
Mommy, this hurt me. Daddy, I don't feel loved." Whatever the emotion is,
Mhm. Mhm.
how can
So,
we emotionally create that space for them?
well, if you want your kids, if we want to do that for them, you better get comfortable with your own emotions first. I find that a lot of parents are very uncomfortable with their kids' emotions because they're uncomfortable with their own.
Mm,
So you need to get up close and personal and friendly with your own feelings so that you can tolerate the feelings of others around you, specifically your children.
yeah.
I find that I mean, we've laughed about this. I've said it. I know I've said it to my own kids when they were little, and I was told, that if you don't stop crying, I'm gonna give you something to cry about.
Need
And
something to
all
cry
of
for.
those. Yes, yes. Or you're gonna have to go and take a nap if you don't stop crying, whatever. Like there's a punishment for that emotion.
Yeah.
Now, when I hear that, I just cringe. I just pucker when I hear that, because I think, oh, I know what's happening with that. And a lot of that is about, we're just uncomfortable with that emotion, and then we're annoyed by the expression of that emotion, and now we're lashing out in anger, and we're teaching that child that those particular set of emotions are not safe. Then when they're teenagers, now we're all up their butt about, why won't you tell me how you
Why
feel?
don't you tell me how you
Why do
feel? Now
you?
they hiding everything. They
Yep.
into boys, they into girls, they friends know they have this. Like yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
They build a wall of
The
teenagers
wall.
around them,
Yes,
right?
Lord. Yes.
And because and so we wonder, how did we get to this point? But we really don't think about, when they were younger, did we make those emotions safe?
That's so
Or did we make them off limits by, they were punished? They were punished or shamed, or there was some kind of negative reaction or
yeah.
response to those emotions. So, you know, being comfortable with your kids' emotions is important, right? And we don't need to internalize them. I always I think one of the other things that I say to parents all the time is, stop taking it personal. Stop doing that. Stop making it about you. If your kid's upset, let them be upset.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
we should teach them, hey, there are safe ways to express this emotion. Your expression of this emotion should not be destructive or hurtful or damaging to anyone or yourself or
Yeah.
anything.
Right.
So as long as you don't harm yourself, other people, or our home, then that's fine. You can express your emotion
Yeah.
and you can take the time to do that.
Yeah.
So if we will just, one, we'll get comfortable with our own feelings first.
Yes. You
Um,
see how everything is leading back to
to you.
you?
Absolutely. Yes.
You know,
yes.
I told you this not too long ago that it seems like we have to take accountability for everything. Everything is this full length mirror where it's so easy to blame it on your mom, your ex-boyfriend, your kids, your job. But it's this mirror of what are you actually reflecting?
Yes.
What are you actually putting out in the world? How are you actually treating your kid or whoever else, right? And then you
Yeah.
expect something so different, and it's like, but you're angry all the time.
Yeah. Right.
You yell all the time. Parents that cuss at their kids is probably the.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Can you
I
touch
know.
that real quick? Just touch that, because that was in my soul. I felt like it saying it.
Yeah.
Can you talk to
I,
the parents that cuss at their kids?
look, I cannot, whether you, again, whether you intend that, you don't intend for it to be this or not, it doesn't matter whether or not you didn't intend for it to be, it doesn't mean it's not, but that is the most shaming thing that you can do to a child, is to cuss at them. That is hurting them in ways that you don't realize. And it shames them. It changes it, and in a way, it changes who they are. It's just changing the blueprint of who they will believe themselves to be. So
Wow.
I cannot stress enough. I mean, if you just think about how you feel for someone to cuss you, namely someone that you're supposed to love and trust, how hurtful that is. Your child does not have the ability to process that. And I want to make a point here too that is extremely important. We need to remember, as parents, that our children have emotional experiences because they're not able to reason or logic those things out. They don't walk away from those experiences going, they're just really stressed out. I'm not going to make this about me. It's just them, right? Your children are not doing that.
Yeah.
They are having an emotional dialogue about this, not a logical one. They cannot do that. They don't do that until they're older. So all of that is being internalized. And the narrative then becomes that I need to change who I am.
Yeah.
That I need to not have needs. That, I mean, all kinds of things, right? It can be any of those things. I don't need to have needs. I need to change who I am. I should never, tell anyone how I really feel.
Yeah.
My feelings are a burden, whatever that would be, right? So I can't stress enough.
Yeah.
Like it's not about a shaming thing. And as you and I had discussed previously, this conversation was never about, it was never about calling you out as a bad parent.
Yeah.
It was about talking about bad parenting, and
Parent.
that's a different thing, right?
Yeah.
And I won't even say, I'll say bad parenting as a result of wounded parenting,
That's
right? We're doing a lot of wounded parenting and dysfunctional parenting and angry parenting and confused parenting. It's all of that.
Yeah.
And so, if you definitely, if you cuss at your children, like you got to stop. You can't do it. I mean, it's creating a narrative in them that will stay with them their whole lives.
Yeah. It's so hard.
Changing who they know themselves to be.
Yeah, it's hard to watch it. It's really hard to watch, and of course, just I just kind of stay out the way when it comes to things like that with friends and family or whatever may cuss their kids out or cussing at them. I'm just like, you can
Yeah.
just tell
Yeah.
that their emotions are like lost at that moment.
Oh yeah.
And then
Yeah.
even being able to be desensitized from that too is a problem.
Absolutely.
And it's just it's sad, and I hope that this conversation, and a lot of it too, right, comes from their parents cussing them out. And then it's just all these
Absolutely.
things are generational, which is the conscious parenting thing that I'm this journey that I'm on is
Yeah.
not, of course, trying to give my child this life I didn't have, but trying to give her this life that she needs presently.
Yeah.
And debunking all of the things that I've learned in my childhood and from my parents. They did as good as their trauma would allow them to.
Absolutely.
Now we get to do different.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
look, I feel compelled to say this. If you are watching this now or later, right? And if any part of this discussion really picks at you and you think, and you become overwhelmed and you think, I've already screwed this up so bad that I can't turn it around, that I can't change it. There's already so much damage that I don't even know where to start. So I just won't. I want to assure you and to tell you, you can change this. So if your kid, even if your kid is 17, if your kid's 25, right? There, you can start to heal that with them. It's going to obviously look different depending on your child's age, but it is never too late. It is never too late to go back and to do it different and to own it and to make that right with your kid. They want that. Kids want it. They may tell you, you might have to do it a few times
You gotta
because
put
it kind of work your way through those layers and all the scar tissue, but it's there. They want it. They do want it. I don't think, I've never had anyone in my office, adolescent and adult, aside from really extreme situations of like parental alienation, and that's a whole other can of worms that we can always go back to later. But outside of that, I've never had anyone sit in my office and say that they didn't want that relationship with their parent healed, that they didn't want it to be better, that they didn't want to know that their parent loved them, that they weren't longing to hear those things. They do. And so it's never too late. You can turn it around. You can do it different. It's one day at a time. I ask people all the time, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? You don't have to change it all at the same time, but one change can be huge for your child.
Yeah. This is so good, JB. You already know we had time. We're at time. I told you that this is not going to be it can't be one.
Yeah.
It's too heavy layered.
Yeah.
Be layered. We have to jump back on here and do a part 2, part 3, whatever we have to do. It's such an important topic. I know it's a sensitive one too. Parents. It's one of the hardest jobs, and it's one that no one wants to feel that they are getting quote unquote wrong.
Right.
And I know it's a tough topic. Very tough, but it's important.
It is. Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah, but it certainly is not, again, it's not about shaming.
Right.
It isn't about even blaming, right? It's just about bringing that awareness and that healing, so that everyone benefits, not just your child, but you get to heal as well with all of them. So yeah, I agree. Like coming back and just peeling back the layers.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Yeah.
But where can they find you, JB?
Well, you can find me. I have an office in Frisco, as you had said. Preston, it's easy to find, Preston and Hickory, I think.
Okay.
So we're there in a suite there. We have a website. I think it's North Frisco Counseling. I think it's still Barnes and Cook Counseling because
you think it's that? Yeah, I know you guys changed.
Yeah. So we've got a website. I've got a Psychology Today profile that you can just type in my name in Psychology Today.
I think that's where I found you, actually. I don't know if I ever told you that. That's where I found you.
Okay. So people can go there. That's an easy way. And I think my links are all on that page too.
Okay.
So yeah.
Good. Well, I'll drop everything in this chat, in this conversation, once we're done. But thank you, JB.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who joined this live. I hope this wasn't shaming. If you feel something though rising up, then it's probably a good time to kind of start picking apart some things from the past, and just so we can learn how to parent differently and better for our child, not for any other children, but for the child that we have. So
absolutely.
Thank you guys so much. If you're catching a replay, say replay, share. I'll drop this on YouTube if you weren't able to join us on this live. But thank you everyone for sharing a piece of your Sunday with me.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for having me.
JV.
All
Absolutely,
right.
always. Have a good night. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye.